Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers, guests, and delegates, welcome to International Youth Day, celebration co-organized by AFS Intercultural Programs, the Permanent Mission of Malta to the United Nations, and the Civil Society Unit in the United Nations Department of Global Communications. My name is Yumna Khan, Director of the Youth Assembly with AFS Intercultural Programs. I want to invite you all to look around, just take a moment to look around and feel the energy coming from the diversity and the representation of youth from over 100 countries in this room. You all are amazing. Today, we have gathered to learn from each other, to co-create ideas, to make an impact, and most of all, make a breakthrough to a better future. To celebrate International Youth Day, we will highlight green skills for youth for a sustainable world, a world which we all imagine to live in. Today, we will hear from high-level officials, inspiring keynotes, and distinguished youth, like yourselves. Through solidarity, we will celebrate the achievements of young people all around the world. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Daniel Obst, President and CEO of AFS Intercultural Programs, for his opening address. Daniel.
Thank you so much, Yumna. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome, and hello to everybody who's watching on UN Web TV. And let me just start by wishing all of you a very happy International Youth Day. And it's incredible to be here tonight at the United Nations and for the specific purpose of celebrating young people and all the passion and commitment and contributions that you are making towards sustainable development. I'm especially grateful to His Excellency Csaba Kőrösi, the President of the 77th session of the General Assembly, for joining us here today. You'll hear from him in just a moment. And our deepest thanks to the Permanent Mission of Malta to the United Nations for serving as the lead endorser of tonight's celebration. And special thanks to Vanessa Fraser, the Ambassador and Permanent Representative, and the Deputy Permanent Representative, Francesca Gatt. Your support truly speaks to Malta's commitment to youth empowerment and global citizenship. My name is Daniel Obst. I'm the President and CEO of AFS Intercultural Programs. And AFS was founded more than 100 years ago with a very important mission. And that mission is to provide intercultural learning opportunities to help people develop the knowledge, skills, and values that are so needed to create a more just and peaceful world. In short, we're all about developing active global citizens. And I think you will all agree with me when I say that the world needs more active global citizens. It's our honor to support the United Nations in achieving progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals and our common agenda. And a special thanks to Maha Nasa at the UN Department of Global Communications, who is joining us tonight. Your team's support and the strong partnership of the department have been truly crucial in making this event possible. We are also delighted to have special messages and remarks tonight from Gabriela Ramos, the Assistant Director General from UNESCO. We did Bouchamoy, the 2015 Nobel Peace Prize laureate of Tunisia, and the amazing Wendy Kopp, the CEO and founder of Teach for All. And I would also specifically like to recognize Ms. Yumna Khan, who is our Director of the Youth Assembly and a young leader herself. Most important to any celebration of International Youth Day is young people. And that's why I'm so especially excited and looking forward to the youth-led panel discussion that will follow tonight. We must place young people at the center of creating positive change in the world. And young people must have a seat at the table in any discussion about any of the major issues of our time. Many of the young leaders here tonight are delegates of the 28th session of the Youth Assembly that will take place over the next few days. We have more than 800 delegates from 100 countries. And if you are part of the Youth Assembly, please make yourself heard and clap now. Great. 2023 marks 7 years since the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals were introduced. The world has only 7 short years left to make the SDGs a reality by 2030. Many of the young people I have spoken to over the last few days told me that they feel a sense of gridlock and a sense of frustration that progress is lagging behind. And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated this in a very succinct way. He said, "Humanity faces a stark and urgent choice, breakdown or breakthrough. And the choices we make or fail to make today could result in further breakdown in a future of perpetual crises or a breakthrough to a better future." And this is particularly true when it comes to addressing climate change, which is why this year's International Youth Day theme is so important. Green skills for youth towards a sustainable world. And the UN defines these skills as not just the technical knowledge and hard skills, but also the transversal skills that draw on a range of knowledge, values, and attitudes to facilitate environmentally sustainable decision in work and in life. And at AFS, we couldn't agree more. Our mission plays an essential role in nurturing exactly these values and capacities through our educational programs. What I've observed from the active global citizens that we help support and empower is that they're guided by something that I would call a compass. It's a life compass. It's a compassionate and ethical compass that drives them to lead lives and make decisions that contribute to a more just, equitable, and peaceful and sustainable world. They feel that they belong to a common and diverse world. They inquire critically about that world. They take action towards collective well-being, and they understand others across difference. And that last point, understanding others across difference, is particularly key to the future of our planet and to the transition to a greener future. AFS has been building intercultural understanding through the global exchange of people and ideas for many decades, empowering young people from all backgrounds. So many young people who are in this room will continue to be our #1 priority. And as the Secretary General said, we have an urgent choice, break down or break through. So let's break through to a better future. Thank you. And it's now my distinct honor to invite His Excellency Csaba Kőrösi, the President of the 77th session of the General Assembly, to deliver his remarks. We're so grateful you're here with us.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Good evening, New York. Good evening, America. Early good morning in Europe and Africa, and good afternoon, Asia and Australia. It's good to be together. It's my great honor to join you for this session, and let me immediately suggest something. Have your phones ready. Don't put it away, don't switch it off. You will need it. I'm going to suggest some kind of Q&A dialogue between us. Now, going into the topic you have suggested and you have picked for this year, when we developed the SDGs, we gave 15 years to ourselves for implementation. The objective was to change the trajectory of our development for more sustainable direction and to prevent various forms of breakdown looming on the horizon, as we just heard from the quotation from the Secretary General. And shortly after, we agreed on a working program for financing sustainable development, the Paris Agreement to keep climate change under control, the Sendai framework to prevent the worst-case scenarios of disasters, and later the Kunming-Montreal Protocol, which is a deal to stop the accelerating loss of biodiversity. So in short, it was nothing less than a joint design of transformation unparalleled in the history of humankind. Why unparalleled? Because we wanted to go ahead of the curve, and we did so. Humanity has made some cardinal changes in the past, but mostly after disasters and collapses. At this time, the collapse would be a cascading one, and the tolls would be way too high to tolerate. Unparalleled because the speed of the desirable changes is much higher than what we experienced any time in the past, let it be during the Industrial Revolution or at the later stages of the digital revolution. You're very well aware that we are racing against the time, and an interlocking tsunami of crisis is coming on us. So we are racing against the time. And unparalleled because of its scope. The scope is much broader than any time before, anything we designed and implemented jointly as humanity. We designed and we decided to act with impact across the board of social, economic, and environmental fields. You may say that huge changes happened to us in the past as well, say after the industrialization. Yes, that is true, but let's remind ourselves that with the machines coming in, with the Industrial Revolution, one or two technical novelties were introduced, and the rest just happened to us, be it social, environmental, political, economic consequences. And we later tried to understand what happened to us. Now we try to figure out a system that would be more promising for all communities in the world. So in short, we wanted a full transformation. Where are we now with the implementation of our goals and commitments? Mostly off track. But let me come back to this point a minute after. Before that, a word about the mission of your generation and the people of your age. Do you know what was the medium age of the team in charge for the Apollo program? One of the most ambitious programs ever undertaken. Any guess? 25? 45? Okay, any other guess? It was 28 years. It roughly is the average age of yours here in this room. And what about you? Why are you here today? So now it's the time to take the phones. Please take out your cell phones and enter the code you see on the screen. Then answer the first question. For those of you who may not see the screen clearly, it is www.menti.com and the code 81638717. For those who are following us through the internet, they can also do it. They can join and they can send their answers the same way. Okay, can we go for the first question? Okay.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so please answer in maximum 2 words. Why are you here today? describe your reason of attending this event. Okay, we are over 300. Okay, in order not to lose too much time, there will be other questions. Let's now lock the machine here. As you see, from the very beginning, the most favorable answers were to learn, to change, and to connect, and to inspire. I'm very proud of you. You will have all my backing. Now let's go to the next question. What are the biggest obstacles in the way of achieving sustainable development, justice, and prosperity? Look, in your country and in your region. You have 10 options here. Distribute 100 points among those options. You may give all the 100 to one, or you can distribute it any other proportion you deem it more appropriate. Okay, it goes a little bit slower, but we are approaching 300 very soon. Okay, I think we can stop here. From the very outset, the first reason you saw in your countries and your regions what was preventing the transformation to sustainable development was government inaction. And the second comes very, very strongly, historic inequalities. I assume within and among countries, both, and lack of solidarity. It also may give you an indication where should be your missions. What should be the task number 1, 2, and 3 when you go home? I said that I would come back to the implementation of the SDGs. So what can we make out of the available data, what we have on the implementation? And mind you, in percentage terms, the implementation rate at halfway time is between 12 and 19%. And on some targets, we are actually backtracking. We are further away from the goals than we were in 2015. So at halfway mark, the world is facing multiple interlocking crises, threatening lives and livelihoods. We are witnessing conflicts, food and energy insecurity, unfolding climate change, water crisis, pollution, and biodiversity loss. What you all know very well about these risk factors that are not only approaching us, but they are also reinforcing each other. With the SDG summit just weeks away, it is time, therefore, for all of us here in this room, and for all of us in the United Nations, and all of us around this globe, to get united for action. Start improving these trends. What is at stake? First and foremost, our development, our well-being, our stability, security, and the predictable future of our civilization as we know it today. You may know that future must be sustainable, or there will be no future, at least not for all of us. What is still at stake? The key conditions of life. Whatever we do or not do, fail to do in the forthcoming 7 to 10 years, will create conditions that will predetermine very much the conditions of life on this earth for the forthcoming 50 to 100 years. You are living in a historic 10 years. Your decisions will be historic decisions. So the SDG summit will be crucial. Crucial to recommit ourselves to the necessary transformation. Crucial to prove the credibility of our commitment, despite the fact that the first 7 years were not the most successful ones in terms of implementation, and crucial to guide us for the next 7 years. I know it's a tall order, but I'm absolutely sure and convinced that it is still doable. Science is showing us the consequences of our actions or inactions. Science is warning us we need to change our habits, to transform the way we produce, use, and preserve. In the General Assembly, we are bringing evidence and data into our discussions so we can back up what we say and validate what we do. I plead to you as young leaders, I urge you to use all the scientific tools you can to make informed decisions that will point us in the direction of sustainability and transformation. Here is the time for the third question. Please get your phones. So, what are your actions for sustainability transformation? Your personal actions. What are you going to do, or what are you doing now? Pick two out of this 6 or 8 choices. Pick two. The most important, what you're doing now. And I wonder how many will be the no action yet answer at the end. Okay, we are at the level of 300. It's quite visible that your actions cover a very, very broad range of varieties, and those who found it still the time not ready for doing something concrete on your behalf, you may wish to do the next steps in the forthcoming days. Advocacy and spreading the message is obviously taking the first place. Please carry on. Be very curious. I encourage you to stay curious, cultivate understanding, and keep asking questions. You know that with the knowledge and knowledge level of the yesterday, it would be difficult to construct a transformative future. To make this point, let me share with you a story about the Bell Labs, Bell Laboratories. It is the research wing of the AT&T, started by Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. With 9 Nobel Prizes awarded for groundbreaking results, the Bell Labs became known as the Idea Factory. Bell Labs managers actually once wanted to know why some of their engineers are more productive, more creative than others. They couldn't understand. Maybe it was a schooling, maybe it was the speciality of the engineers, maybe it was the books they read, but no adequate answer came out from their research until they realized that that the most productive researchers had one thing in common. All were in habit of eating lunch with Harry Nyquist, a senior electric engineer. Harry Nyquist would pepper them with thoughtful questions about their research. He drew out their innovative ideas. He helped them find non-conventional solutions. That is what we need from you for the sustainability transformation. In this spirit, I encourage you to explore the complexity of the global issues and engage in multiple perspectives. Please reject the notion that our world cannot be transformed. That we are the victims of something inevitable or forces beyond our control. I know that time is short, but it is not up yet. We are still in the race, and we are not doomed yet, and we cannot be doomed. We can still curb climate change, restore much of the natural wealth of our planet, and we can make our world more just, more inclusive, more stable. And you know that it will not happen automatically. It can only happen upon well-designed and executive programs. And never forget that you are the architect of the transformation. You are the game changers. Your generation is the game changer generation. And you are the best chance for the world to be saved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for being an integral part of the celebration and sharing your remarks with us. Now, I would like to recognize the Deputy Representative of Malta, Francesca Gott, for joining us today. Thank you for being here, since the permanent representative could not join us. However, we do have our video remarks, and it is an honor to welcome Her Excellency, Ms. Vanessa Fraser, Permanent Representative of Malta.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, and young leaders from around the world, I stand before you today with great enthusiasm and hope as we gather here to celebrate International Youth Day 2023. This occasion is not merely a commemoration, it is a call to action, a call for us to recognize the untapped potential of our greatest resource, youth. Our planet faces unprecedented challenges, the urgent and ever-growing threat of climate change, especially for small island states and small island developing states, the loss of biodiversity, the depletion of our natural resources, growing inequalities, and conflict. Vulnerable regions face escalating risks of displacement, resource scarcity, and social unrest, undermining international peace and security. However, in this daunting challenge lies an opportunity for young people to spearhead the global response and build forward better. As the Secretary General Guterres rightly pointed out, humanity faces a critical choice: break down or break through. Our choices today will shape the future, either perpetuating crises or paving the way for a better world. In this pursuit, we draw inspiration from the vision and the passion of our youth, who have risen as a powerful force for change, mobilizing movements and demanding accountability from those in power. We must heed their voices and support their endeavors, for they hold the keys to unlocking solutions that will drive us towards a sustainable future. To the youth assembled here today, I say, your passion, your ideas, and your actions will shape the course of history. You are not just the hope for the future, you are the catalyst for change today. Malta stands firmly with you, ready to support and amplify your efforts as you chart a course towards a sustainable world. As we stand at the crossroads of a rapidly evolving world, it is essential to ensure that the human rights of youth are not only protected, but also actively promoted, including the right to education, health, decent work, and a safe environment free from discrimination, violence, and exploitation. We also need to better address the specific challenges faced by marginalized and vulnerable youth, including those with disabilities, LGBTIQ+ persons, and those affected by conflict and humanitarian crisis. Investing in youth education, skills development, and meaningful engagement is imperative, including integrating sustainability into educational curricula and fostering hands-on learning experiences. Access to information technology and resources is vital for nurturing youth-led innovation and entrepreneurship. Moreover, we must create platforms for meaningful youth participation and decision-making processes at all levels. This includes amplifying youth engagement at the UN, including the Security Council, particularly in addressing the crucial intersection of climate change, development, and security. Empowering youth as agents of change is a crucial component of achieving our global goals set in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We must also ensure that the upcoming SDG Summit translates our aspirations into sustainable solutions for all, including youth, while leaving no one behind. Today, we are proud to join hands with AFS Intercultural Programs and the UN Department for Global Communications. Let us make this International Youth Day a milestone in our collective pursuit for sustainability, leaving a legacy of hope and prosperity for generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, and thank you for the support of the Permanent Mission of Malta for today's celebration. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Maher Nasser, Director of the Outreach Division of the UN Department of Global Communications. Mr. Nasser.
Thank you. And thank you, President, for being with us today. Thank you, Excellencies. A unique proposition of the United Nations is the relatively young history of humans on Earth, which is 160,000 years, is that states can get things done better and more effectively by working together. Something we call multilateralism. And I think that applies to societies at large. We can achieve things by working together collaboratively rather than fighting. And that applies to generations. That applies to different generations today that may see things differently, but unless we work across generational lines, we will not be able to overcome the challenges that we are facing. And you've heard enough about those from His Excellency and Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Malta. Going from climate change, climate crisis, I would add, to the triple environmental crisis impacting Earth, pollution, loss of biodiversity, and of course, changing climate, to rising conflict. There are more conflict, geopolitical tensions across the world. We have seen the pandemic. We think we are out of it, but actually today, 2 of my colleagues came down positive, and we see that there's a new wave coming back. So we think that COVID is behind us. It's not. Pandemics are still going to be around, and we have to be more and more careful. And that's why I think we were talking before this meeting, 3 of the 8 summits that are taking place during the high-level week are related to health, because health is one of the core issues that we need to work together to overcome. But if we look at the problems that we are facing, I think there is much more at stake for young people than it is for my generation or even your parents' generation, because we have less left on this planet than you do. And if you look at what the marketing surveys are showing and what we see on the streets, when there was COP27 or COP26, who were there outside demonstrating and demanding action? It was young people, because young people are demanding of leaders to really implement what they themselves has agreed to. And when I talk about leaders and your role, and you have identified in the Mentimeter last question, the things that you think you can do and what to do, I think the top 3 were learning more. And I think learning more is very important, because you cannot base what you do on misinformation and disinformation. And we now live in the age of mis and disinformation. And the second one you chose is, the highest one actually was raising awareness in society and people around you. And the third one was advocacy. And advocacy is the one I want to focus on. I think we have a campaign called Act Now, which is encouraging people to reflect on individual actions, what they themselves can do to change their impact on climate, impact on sustainability, impact on pollution, impact on what their immediate environment is. And in my view, my humble view, is that the most important one of those is advocate. Because individual actions can go that far, but eventually things have to change at the level of regulation that forces companies to change the way they are behaving. And we have a success story in the United Nations. You're too young, most of you, to know of the panic and fear and concern in the early 1980s from the ozone layer depletion. The ozone layer depletion was at the time seen as something that's going to really destroy humanity, because we are depleting the thing that is protecting us from ultraviolet rays, and we're all going to die from skin cancer. But the Montreal Protocols, supervised and brought together by the United Nations, member states agreed and adopted regulations that industry abided to, and today we are looking at and we see that the ozone layer is healing. The hole stopped growing, it is actually becoming smaller. So we know that we can do it. And it has to be leadership across all sectors of society, leaders that include the private sector, companies, and you have a role to play in that. Marketing companies do a lot of research, and many of the outcomes from young people indicate that people are more, 78% of respondents to a survey by Dentsu and Microsoft indicated that they're willing in the next 5 years to change their spending behavior to align with companies that actually show commitment to the sustainability. Because I think the more awareness there is, the more we talk about advocacy and your role, but not only your role in what you do individually, it has to be your role in impacting decisions by leaders. It might be short term because they want to be elected or because they want to satisfy the profit needs of their investors. I think that short-termism needs to come to an end. I think younger people, maybe you need to think more into long-term than older generations who will be there. I mean, we will be there with you. I have been, in this month, it's my 37th year working for the United Nations. And I say working for the United Nations that you see is not just this building. It's not just this building and this house here. There are 6,000 people working at the UN in New York. There are 150,000 people working for the United Nations. Many of them are working in countries where you come. I heard that you are coming from 100 countries. We have colleagues working to work with governments, local and national, in implementing, developing, and guiding development, in protecting and advocating for human rights, in defending and trying to work with refugees and asylum seekers. And we live in a world where more than 100 million people today are displaced, the highest number, I think, ever. And the UNHCR is an agency that is working with that. And to me, the UN, actually, my first encounter with the UN was not in this building or learning about the UN or doing a model United Nations. As a child of Palestine refugees, I went to school run by the United Nations, an agency called UNRWA in the West Bank, in Gaza, in Jordan, in Syria, and Lebanon. I grew up in the West Bank. And for me, that is the UN, that is delivering services to refugees and helping them find their footing in life. And I think when you think of the UN, it's not just the ideals that we represent, but it's also the actions that we lead in different parts of the world. Is it always a success? Absolutely not. When member states agree, the UN succeeds. When member states do not agree, the UN does not succeed. And we have seen multiple areas and multiple places where that has happened. Now, when you look at this picture and you look at the SDG achievement, you might think that this is bad news. It is. But how many of you know of a football game, soccer for Americans, or basketball, was lost in the first half? No team loses in the first half. We are at the halftime. So this is now the time for the coach, and hopefully the SDG Summit will be the time when leaders get together and say, look, this is the time we turn the tide. Team, tie your laces, stiffen up, and let's get back to action. This is the time to change the winning team. And that winning team needs to be you, because you are the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser, for reminding us that we have to win. We greatly appreciate the support of you and your team at the Department of Global Communications. Now, I would like to welcome the Honorable Ms. Gabriela Ramos, Assistant Director General for Social and Human Sciences at UNESCO, with her video remarks.
Dear young leaders and change makers, it is a pleasure to be with you for this Youth Assembly ahead of International Youth Day tomorrow. Our assembly today is an aptly themed breakthrough to a better future. The global efforts to ensure young people enjoy healthy and dynamic lives have been really impacted by an unprecedented pandemic and a series of intersecting crises, from climate change to the war in Ukraine, discrimination, misinformation, inequalities, and the shrinking civic space. These challenges are having a profound impact on everybody, but particularly on young people. The world has become successively less peaceful each year since 2014, and some of the global index have just signaled how much there has been deterioration. While intergenerational and intercultural dialogue support conflict prevention and sustainable peace, youth are often left out of these conversations on account of their age and perceived lack of experience. But young people have proven time and time again that they decidedly contribute to peace building in the communities and societies they live in. Let's take the example of youth civic engagement. Young people are increasingly mobilizing for change, as we saw during the pandemic. 7% of young people belonging to the Generation Z are involved in a social or political cause. These actions are making a difference and contribute to a climate of inclusion and justice across the globe. At UNESCO, we are convinced that young people engagement at all levels of decision-making and community building is essential for creating impactful solutions and contemporary challenges. To ensure youth engagement, UNESCO promotes and accompanies youth-led action. For example, at the request of young people, UNESCO launched the Global Youth Grant Scheme to support youth-led projects with social impact through different grants, with capacity building and mentoring. UNESCO also accompanies youth-led networks such as the UNESCO Youth Climate Action Network, the UCAN, which connects youth climate networks worldwide to strengthen cooperation and support youth-led climate actions and research. We know that youth-led solutions are key to advancing sustainable solutions. In some countries, youth make half of the population. How can we spare those contributions? And one such solutions lies with the intercultural dialogue. UNESCO and the AFS Intercultural Program work together on the successful Story Circles project, aimed at building intercultural skills such as empathy, listening, understanding, all of these to help individuals and communities to engage more effectively in processes of dialogue. These and many other initiatives are in line with the AFS Intercultural Program's important vision to promote active citizenship education among youth, introducing them to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and equipping them with knowledge and skills to work together to help advance these goals in their communities. We must continue building on the incredible path set forward by each and every one of you in the Assembly today and young people across the world. At UNESCO, we will continue joining forces with UN agencies, governments, youth organizations, and the private sector to ensure that youth can fully participate in societies and make the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. It was a pleasure to hear from you. Now, it is an honor to welcome Ms. Wendy Kopp, CEO and co-founder for Teach for All, with her keynote address. Ms. Kopp.
So much, and good evening. It's such an honor to be with you as you kick off this youth assembly. I am inspired by your civic engagement and your sense of agency, and I'm excited about the chance, especially on the occasion of International Youth Day, to talk with you about what we can do collectively to dramatically grow the extent to which your generation and the generations that follow are influencing and shaping the trajectory of the world so that we can, in fact, break through to a better future. I started out on this journey that's grown into Teach for All when I was about your age. What I've learned through these incredibly energizing decades has led me to know that the path to our global aspirations for peace, justice, sustainability requires the full-time energy of your generation and the generations that come after it. Youth voice and advocacy and spreading messages is important, because those things are part of the leadership that's necessary, but it will not be enough. Perhaps the most salient lesson I've learned is that the systemic inequities and threats we face as a society are solvable, but they are not going to be solved by single solutions. Solving them is not a question only of how we can, for example, distribute enough bed nets, or give every child a laptop, or even a committed teacher, or of changing policy alone. Solving these complex, deep-rooted problems is going to take whole transformations of systems. This is hard, multifaceted work which entails reshaping policy, changing practice, and shifting culture. This takes a lot of people power, a lot of collaboration and learning, and a lot of time. In short, it takes what we have come to call collective leadership, diverse people throughout ecosystems exercising agency and leadership towards shared purpose, collaborating, and learning together. What makes me confident that the threats and challenges we face as a society are solvable is that across the Teach for All network, I've seen dramatic progress in addressing the fact that the circumstances of children's birth predict their outcomes. These are circumstances that most view as completely intractable. And yet I've seen that enough leadership throughout the whole ecosystem around children can meaningfully change outcomes, not only in single classrooms or schools, but across whole communities. And beyond the work across our network, I've seen that anyone who really immerses themselves in tackling problems that others are observing from afar comes to the same conclusion. I still remember listening to Muhammad Yunus accept the Nobel Peace Prize, and I remember exactly what he said because it struck me so much. He said, "I firmly believe that we can create a poverty-free world." It struck me because before I listened to him, I would have said that poverty was impossible to solve. So we can solve the challenges we face, but it takes the full-on energy and leadership of a lot of people. We won't get there with a lot of people advocating and raising their voices alone. We need people in the arena, working in our most marginalized communities, taking the issues on with their time and their energy. This is why we can look at the career choices of the leaders in your generation and know what trajectory our world is going to be on in a few years. Will your generation tackle the entrenched systemic inequities that persist in every sector of the world? Will you put your time and energy towards helping to make the crucial transitions in the world's energy, transportation, and food systems in order to ensure the sustainability of the planet? Will you work towards fostering peace in areas of conflict? There's so much potential. Your generation is more committed to diversity, equity, inclusiveness, justice, sustainability than any that have come before, and you're more aware of the threats to all of those things. But so far, your generation's career choices look extremely similar to those of generations that have come before. Many in your generation continue to see their jobs as a means to an end, as a source of resources and relationships that will enable their personal well-being and enable them to be advocates and maybe someday philanthropists later on. But if we're going to address the massive issues facing people and the planet, we need the most promising leaders in your generation to put your full focus on them. We need you to choose jobs that enable you to align all your professional energy with your values, jobs that are in and of themselves a path to fulfillment and well-being. I know I'm preaching to the converted here. Most of you all are already leading the way, and you're putting your energy towards addressing the issues that you care most about. But nonetheless, I want to talk with you about what you can do and what we can all do together to build a broader movement among your generation to align your job choices with your values. On this International Day of Youth, let's consider how to generate an unstoppable movement that inspires and enables your generation to tackle the world's biggest threats and injustices with the invaluable resource of your time and energy. As we consider how to move towards each and every SDG, we will need to consider how to enlist the energy of the rising generation in tackling it. As you go through the coming few days, I hope you'll prioritize this question. How can we enlist the world's young people in dedicating themselves to the hard work required for the transformations that are needed? We will need to enlist everyone who influences young people, from parents to thought leaders to universities, in this effort to foster greater intentionality in matching job choices to values. For example, thousands of universities have pledged their support for the SDGs. We need them to recognize that their greatest contribution would be to support and inspire their graduates to channel their energy towards addressing them. We also need to call on policymakers and civil society leaders to support young people to make these choices, to undertake such important and intense work while cultivating well-being and mental health. We need serious discussions within NGOs and governments and social enterprises about how to enable people to do the hardest work society has to offer while also doing well. Above all, we will need to transform our school systems. We cannot expect today's students to rise up and lead to solve the massive challenges we face if we are educating them year on year as passive receptacles of information. We need to reorient the very purpose of school systems around the world towards developing students as leaders who can shape a better world for themselves and for all of us. We need to commit to developing students holistically and reshaping teaching and learning so that it fosters students' agency, their awareness of themselves and the systemic injustices around them, their connectedness to each other and the planet, their problem-solving and critical thinking skills, and their personal well-being. As you begin this youth assembly, I applaud each of you for your passion and your belief in your collective agency over the future of our planet and our global society. I'm sending you so much energy and good wishes for these days and years ahead as you take on the challenges, make the most of the opportunities, and work to magnetize your generation and those who will follow you to exercise the collective leadership necessary to realize all of our shared aspirations for peace, justice, and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kopp, for reminding us that the journeys we start here today may one day lead to a journey parallel to yours, as you are an institution for all of us to learn from. Thank you. I want to also thank this panel of distinguished speakers and your excellencies for joining us today. On behalf of the youth in this room and those watching around the world, your support is sincerely appreciated. Thank you. I will now request Mr. Ali Mustafa, AFS Intercultural Programs Consultant on UN Relations, to lead us into the main International Youth Day panel so we can hear from outstanding young people on the importance of green skills for our sustainable world. Please welcome Ali.
Thank you, Yumna, and thank you for all the distinguished speakers. I would like to welcome the youth panelists to the stage. Please welcome all of our youth panelists with your loud claps. Youth panelists. His Excellency, the President of the General Assembly, distinguished guests, youth leaders present at the UN headquarters, and those watching us online, greetings and welcome to the celebration of the International Youth Day 2023. Allow me to guide you through the historical timeline of the United Nations advocacy for youth. The journey began in 1965 when the General Assembly endorsed the Declaration promoting peace, understanding, and mutual respect among young people. In 1979, a resolution designated 1985 as the International Year of Youth. The main proposal for the International Youth Day was first tabled at the World Youth Forum in 1991, leading in the adoption of a resolution proclaiming August 12 as the International Youth Day, a resolution endorsed by the UN General Assembly in 1999. The advocacy continued with Ahmed Al-Andawi's appointment as the first ever envoy on youth from 2013 to 2017, during which he implemented key initiatives, including the Youth Volunteer Program and UN's system-wide action plan on youth. Jayatma Vikramayake succeeded him, taking up the position on June 20, 2017, making sure youth voices are heard and included. Since 1965, we, the youth, have achieved many milestones. We gather here in 2023 today. We celebrate not only the establishment of the first ever UN Youth Office dedicated to the empowerment and inclusion of youth. So congratulations to all the young people here that we are, for the first time in 2023, are going to have the first ever office on the youth at the United Nations. Our efforts alignment with pressing need for environmental stewardship. This year's theme, Green Skills for Youth Towards a Sustainable World, echoes our collective commitment to nurturing the next generation with knowledge, abilities, and values required to build a sustainable and resource-efficient society. Together, we are shaping a future where every young person's potential is realized, where green skills empower youth to lead the transition towards a more sustainable world. In our lifetime, we are witnessing climate and environmental disasters, such as the floods in South Asia that have taken hundreds of lives, left people homeless, and destroyed infrastructures. We experienced July 2023 as the hottest month on record, with global temperature rise of 1.5 degrees globally. The Horn of Africa has faced some of the worst drought conditions in history, leaving more than 20 million people facing acute food insecurity. More than 54 million people were affected by disaster linked to storms, droughts, wildfire, floods, and landslides in Africa. US climate disaster losses exceeded $15 billion in 2023 alone. We are witnessing mass migrations today that are linked with climate change. The disasters are leaving no corner of the globe untouched, impacting regions from global south to global north. It's imperative that we respond by empowering our youth, who make up nearly half of the world's population under the age of 34, a data that is derived from the World Bank. With green skills, these are the essential skills needed to confront and address these challenges. The time has come to translate our words into meaningful actions for cultivation of green skills. As we proceed, we must be mindful to include marginalized and unprivileged youth in the process, prioritizing them as they are often the one most acutely affected by these problems. Thank you. With that, I would like to introduce the fellow young panelists with me here to discuss the green skills for youth, and they're from the different walks of life and work with the different UN agencies and civil society. First, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Hannah from UNICEF and Generation Unlimited. Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and most importantly, youth, driving force behind today and tomorrow. As we convene on this International Youth Day, I want to take a moment and think about our mission, one of grave importance and immense hope. It's about nurturing a generation that can illuminate our planet with vibrancy and green hope. Every heartbeat, every thought, every action of our youth is a testament to the potential of what our world can be. A beacon of change, they're the unsung heroes navigating the tumultuous waters of climate change. I'm Hannah Sadchia, Global Youth Engagement and Entrepreneurship Lead for UNICEF's Generation Unlimited, the public-private youth partnership platform. At UNICEF's Generation Unlimited, we're not just about vocal advocacy. We're prioritizing active listening and collaboration, building a world for and with young people. Now, imagine a world where every young people has the power to shape their destiny, not bound by geography, background, or challenges. This is a vision that our partnership, a unique fusion of public, private, and youth sectors, is moving towards. Our commitment is pretty ambitious, it's pretty audacious, connecting every young person to opportunities spanning employment, entrepreneurship, and societal impact, with a special lens on green. As a young youth engagement lead, I have the privilege of lending an ear to the aspirations and concerns of young people globally. Two truths echoing their voices: skills and representation. The essence of our green transition lies in green skills. Yet, it's heartbreaking to witness 60% of youth stand at the cusp of change unprepared to steer it. They feel they don't have the right skills to be able to steer this. This is not a mere quest for academic knowledge. Young people aren't just about skills. It's a crusade for igniting passion, nurturing curiosity, fostering leadership, and instigating youth-led climate action. And then there's representation. The narrative of our future cannot exclude those who live it. Yet many young voices, especially those from marginalized communities, find themselves silenced. Can we really stand by as those voices, rich of resilience and perspective, remain stifled? We're privileged to be here today, yet a lot of young people that face climate change matters every day don't get to be here, don't get to bring their voices here. So recognizing these challenges, UNICEF and partners, through Generation Unlimited, are pioneering a three-pronged approach: empowerment, inclusion, and collaboration. We're nurturing change agents, whether it's through volunteer action, through a focus on green employment, green jobs, or green entrepreneurship. We're trying to breathe life into youth-led innovation. We're not just envisioning a green world, we're trying to actively build it with our young warriors. Through platforms such as COP27, we're also trying to champion the inclusion of young voices in decision-making tables where it matters, celebrating the first-time recognition of children as change agents was a victory last year, but the journey is very long, and I think we all recognize that. And then finally, collaboration. Our partnership approach is a testament of our dedication in merging climate truths with skilling reforms, working with organizations such as USAID, Scouts, YMCA, AFS, corporates such as Accenture, SAP, Unilever, governments, across the world, Kenya, India, Netherlands, so many others. It's part of our DNA and a means to ensuring a rich and diverse perspective in solving global issues. So in conclusion, our pledge on this day and every day is to march forward with young people, co-authoring a narrative that is not just greener, but also brighter, more inclusive, and profoundly hopeful. The seeds of change are sown, so I invite every one of us here today to nurture them together.
Thank you, Hannah. Next, I would like to give the floor to our youth panelist from Nigeria, Mr. Noel Alumona from Boys Champion Foundation. Noel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ali. I am so excited to be here today. I founded Boys Champions to increase access for opportunities, for young people in Nigeria and, to also end violence against women and girls. So I am not just representing young people here, but I'm also representing women and girls as well. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you. As we approach halfway point to 2030, the urgency to uphold the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development has never been greater. Failing to act decisively at this point will lead to irreparable damage to our planet, especially. In Nigeria, where I come from, we're constantly seeing the devastating effects of climate change, from increasing floods to droughts to coastal erosion. These changes are having a profound impact on the lives of people, especially women, girls, and children, and then also young people with disabilities. This is almost the same globally, but there is hope. I believe that we can turn these challenges into an opportunity if we empower the young people that are seated here with green skills and give them the opportunities to address these challenges. To me, we as young people understand these problems better because these problems actually impact us. Our futures are at stake here. We're also poised with the sustainability, eco-skills, and technology to solve these problems. Thus, our voices and actions are crucial in pushing for global efforts to mitigate and adapt to challenges posed by climate change. As a youth myself, like I said earlier, I represent the voices of the hundreds of young people in this room and 1.2 billion young people globally. And I would like to say that climate change is a crucial battle for us as young people because it impacts and shapes our future. As we hone these green skills, we require all the support from our leaders. We cannot do this on our own. We have the skills, yes, but we do not have the systems. We do not also have the finances. And I am glad that our leaders are listening to us here. They were the ones who were here before we took over. As we navigate these complex global challenges, it is essential to recognize the unique perspectives and ideas and energy that young people bring to the table. We are tired of just sitting down here to talk. We are right now demanding actions. And we need to be part of those decision-making processes. We need to be part of those decision-making processes. Consult us, but also give us the opportunity to follow through to the execution of these ideas. By actively engaging us in shaping the policies and initiatives that affect our future, you can tap into our creativity, innovation, and passion, ultimately fostering inclusive societies and sustainable world. And for our young people, my fellow young leaders, as you continue to make this remarkable impact on the planet, please prioritize self-care and find your community. And I'm very grateful to AFS for building this great platform where we can connect with people like us with shared vision and shared ideas. This community are your collaborators. Changing the world and building a sustainable world is difficult to do that alone. But together we can make it happen. Having said this, I want to invite all of us to just do one little thing. Just hold the hand of your neighbor just where you're seated and just raise it up. This is what a community looks like. These are who your collaborators are. Alone, we can do little, but together, we can do great. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. Next, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Amira Naseem from the International Organization on Migration, United Nations.
Hello, hello everybody here and also online. Thank you, Ali. So I am glad to be here today with you all and also answering or speaking about how we as IOM, the International Organization for Migration, how we perceive the connection between green skills and migration. I'm a young person myself, I'm a migrant myself, so this is a great opportunity and I'm very happy to be here. So, in congruence with the United Nations, IOM recognizes that green skills encompass far more than just a set of technical skills. Green skills are also a philosophy embodying knowledge, values, and attitudes needed to live in, develop, and support a sustainable and resource-efficient society. Building on this understanding, we recognize green skills as a tool for empowerment and resilience building among migrants. So, how can green skills help address the challenges posed by climate-induced migration? In the interest of time, I will only mention 3 areas in which green skills can help address the challenges. These are 1, adaptation and mitigation, 2, job creation, and 3, poverty alleviation. On the first one, adaptation and mitigation, green skills can be harnessed by migrants in their countries of origin to address environmental challenges locally, thereby reducing the drivers of climate-induced migration. On the second point, green skills can create jobs and can help migrants contribute to their host countries' green initiatives, helping them become active participants in their new societies. On the third point, by providing green skills training to these vulnerable populations, we can help break the cycle of poverty and reduce the need for people to migrate for survival. As a final comment, I want to draw attention to the fact that migrants with green skills are in the middle of climate action and at the front lines of the climate emergency. Their skills will not only help them access better jobs and fill in labor gaps, but also make them, in practice, the first line of defense against climate change. Therefore, it is of utmost importance to center their voices in this conversation. And while green skills are relevant for people of all ages, they have heightened importance for younger people who are leading climate action, building resilience in their communities, and making migration an effective adaptation measure because of their innovativeness, inspiration for a greener future, and the ability to mobilize others. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira. Next, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Amanda Nashawat to give her remarks.
Thank you. Good evening, trailblazing youth. Today we celebrate International Youth Day and the importance of investing in young people for a green transition. Tapping into the potential of youth will be transformative for our planet and our economy. Today, the world has millions of young people all around the world eager to join a workforce that is dedicated to the Sustainable Development Goals and actually helping our communities. Green skills will help to fill this growing need and growing number of exciting green jobs, but also will allow young people to make any job a green job. With millions of new jobs in clean energy, sustainable agriculture, and green finance and more beginning to emerge, we have an opportunity to solve a global youth employment crisis. Investing in youth and access to green skills is in every country and every industry's best interest. We have great planetary challenges before us, but also many opportunities to create an economy for us all. We must be strategic about our support for this transformation by investing in jobs and skills training so that no one is left behind. According to UNICEF and General Unlimited, 27% of youth cited a lack of education as a top barrier to obtaining green jobs. Right across the river from the UN headquarters in New York is New Jersey. New Jersey is the first state in the nation to mandate that climate change be taught in all grade levels and in most subjects. I hope that many states and many countries will follow this example. Partnerships are essential to upskilling youth. We need those who are generating green jobs to invest in young people, especially when millions of jobs are in industries that are dependent upon stable ecosystems. At the Hudson County Improvement Authority, where I work, we partnered with 4-H, universities, and local community groups to create the Sustainability Ambassadors Program and Junior Master Composter Program for high school students to learn from those in the field and about how to put the SDGs into action. These programs are meant for equipping young people with skills they can use in their careers in the future, but we also need them today, which is why we give them resources they need to start making changes in their community as soon as the program is complete so they can practice their new skills. Green skills are a way of helping young people envision themselves in a more sustainable world and makes us all more confident about our future. Upskilling youth is the key to accelerating a just and sustainable economy and will be one of our greatest contributions to current and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are running a little over time, but don't worry, we will still take a question from young people. So if anyone have the question, please raise your hand. I will only be able to take one question, one or maybe two questions. And please make sure that you strictly be limited to the question only. Don't make any remark or a speech. And we'll try to answer that question in a limited time we have. I see the young man who raised his hand first. Yes, you. Yes. Please wait for it to turn red, and then you can raise the question.
Hello, everyone. My question goes to Noel.
Hi, Noel.
I was rooting for you from here. I love what you're doing, and I want to ask how you are currently integrating the new innovations of climate change to the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was my question.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a very important question. So climate change is really important, and climate education is what we really stress on in Nigeria because for those who are from Nigeria, we see the situation in the country. Last year, we lost more than 3,000 people to flooding, and this year it's even predicted to be worse. And one of the issues is because there's lack of climate education. Even our leaders, some of our leaders do not believe in the existence of climate change. I said that story to you last year, and I think I may just want to say that this year. Yeah. So one of our leaders who was actually contesting for a very prominent political position was asked during the campaign on his take on climate. He said that climate change is like a church rat that is eating communion in the church. Does anybody understand anything? So incoherent. So if our leaders do not even understand what climate change is and the impact it is having in our communities, then you can imagine the rest of the people. So what we have done at Boys Champions is also to incorporate that into our curriculum and to ensure that our young people are becoming more aware and also taking actions, to abate the climate effect in Nigeria. So they do that through workshops, through some other engaging programs as well in different schools and in the communities where we serve. Thank you.
I will take one more question from that, and the furthest hand that I can see, yes, you stand up, I can see your hand. Turn for your microphone to turn red.
Hello, hello. So, thank you for the speech from everybody. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jonas, I'm from Brazil, and my specific question is about after the assembly, yeah? How can we bring those goals, those institutions, we connect and align internationally our visions, yeah? We can align our visions internationally and also bring to our local communities. How do you see it's happening, yeah? That's my question.
So, okay. So my panelists think I can answer this and then. So I am the firm believer, when I say I'm representing AFS Intercultural Program and also the Youth Representative Steering Committee of the United Nations Department of Global Communication. We both believe in the action, and as our mentor Hava said, talk is cheap. Talk is absolutely cheap, so we really need to turn actions. We have to come with the ideas. After this assembly, Youth Assembly offers you a platform where you can, come forward with the project. You go in your community, you take action on your own, and then you come and tell us, not just the AFS Youth Assembly, our Youth Representative Steering Committee keeps eye everywhere, social media, people reach us out, we reach people out who are doing great, and we contact them, we bring them in the fold, and there are many young people who are part of this assembly, and also they end up being the part of the Youth Representative Steering Committee as well. So this is an opportunity for all of you to, after this assembly, go home and take an action and report that action to the team of AFS Youth Assembly, and you will see the magic. Thank you. So we are over time, and I would ask, so we're gonna end this conversation with not a question. We are not taking any more questions. We are happy to answer your questions after this panel. So we're gonna end this panel with a very brief activity, and that is called the pledge and the call of action that the gentleman just asked about the action. So I would like you to scan this on your camera, and you will see a page pop up. So if you have opened this, you can see there is a pledge. We're gonna read this pledge, but after the pledge, you're gonna write your name, you're gonna write your country's name and a specific action you want to take, and then you have to give us the consent that we can share your name and your country on our social media platform, and we will definitely share some good of the actions. But before we can end this conversation, you have to repeat after me what it is there written. So we know we are absolutely doing this when we go home. So you have to all repeat after me, pay attention, and read, you can read it there. I stand united with my fellow delegates and youth across the globe. Please repeat.
I stand united with my fellow delegates and youth across the globe.
On this International Youth Day, recognizing the immense potential and resilience that we, the youth, embody.
Recognizing the immense potential and resilience that we, the youth, embody.
I hereby commit to actively participate in my community to foster development, peace and environmental stewardship, share sustainability principles and green skills, spreading knowledge and awareness,
Share sustainability principles and green skills, spreading knowledge and awareness.
support and inspire my peers, encouraging them to actively shape a better future,
Support and inspire my peers, encouraging them to actively shape a better future.
pursue concrete actions that align with sustainable development goals,
Pursue concrete actions that align with the Sustainable Development Goals,
contributing to a world that is fair, inclusive, and sustainable.
contributing to a world that is fair, inclusive, and sustainable.
Thank you so much. I would like to invite my colleague, Ms. Yumna Khan, to stage to the last segment for today's proceeding. Yumna.
Okay, let's come back. Thank you, Ali, and distinguished youth speakers. You are a true inspiration for all of us today here in the room. Thank you. A big round of applause for them again. Now, I have the honor of calling upon Mr. Daryl Rattray to be seated at the dais with me. Please welcome him. Okay. Next, we will hear keynote remarks from Ms. Oded Buchamai, CEO of Heidi Buchamoy Group and the 2015 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Tunisian National Dialogue Quartet, with a video remark. Please welcome her.
Dear delegates, greetings and thank you, President Daniel Obst of AFS Intercultural Programs, for the opportunity to be part of this important event. It's indeed my privilege and pleasure to be addressing you in my capacity of a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, as a business leader and a Tunisian citizen committed to empowering young men and women everywhere and enabling them to address the environmental, political, economic, and social challenges facing our world today. These challenges, such as underdevelopment, poverty, exclusion, unemployment, gender inequalities, ignorance, social tensions, conflicts, pandemics, and environmental degradation, are both local and global, and serve as daily reminders of the prominence of the issues related to mutual understanding, tolerance, education, and peace, and of the extent to which they are intertwined. In such an endeavor, nothing beats the realization that we are all in this together, bound by a common destiny. We start heading in the right direction when we realize that we share the same yearning to freedom, equality, and the pursuit of better lives, and we come to grips with the fact that some of our local concerns stem from global trends we can only address together. And this is where the philosophy and exchange programs practiced by the AFS network acquire a crucial importance. By being anchored around the values of education, tolerance, and openness, AFS programs create opportunities for young people to meet and engage in action which consecrate these values and contribute to achieving a breakthrough for a brighter future. My experience with the other three members of the Tunisian National Dialogue Quartet proves that, despite obvious differences in outlooks and approaches, it is possible to find common grounds towards a common objective for the benefit of all. We need to create bonds of friendship beyond our frontiers. While celebrating our identities and diversity, it is also imperative to inject a global perspective in educating our youth on how to become real-world citizens. Thanks to dialogue, to listening to what the other has to say, and to a common desire to transcend our differences, young people, as the leaders of tomorrow, can make a significant impact on today's world. From small acts such as cleaning up your local beach, to high-profile global action such as participating in peace-building initiatives, conferences, and international assemblies like this one, young people have a crucial role to play. So I take this opportunity to tell our world youth, go ahead, claim your future today, get involved, arm yourselves with the necessary skills of global citizenship, and become agents of change and ambassadors of peace. The road towards a better world is by no means easy and free of obstacles. But the process has already been started. Many global institutions, and most notably the United Nations, have already laid down the groundwork for pursuing this lofty goal in the form of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Others, such as the AFS network, have opted for the unique and most effective approach of sharing lives and building strong bonds through full immersion, life-changing experiences. Finally, I reiterate my thanks to AFS for its kind invitation and commend the Youth Assembly for its initiative. To all of you, good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you, Ms. Odid Bouchami. It is amazing to get to hear from such extraordinary people like her. For our last and one of the most important people in the room tonight, I think it's here. I want to welcome Mr. Daryl Rattray, Deputy Commissioner for Strategic Partnerships from the Department of Youth and Community Development, joining us on behalf of the New York City Mayor Eric Adams and Commissioner Keith Howard. I invite you to first make your remarks and then proceed with the rewarding of the New York Proclamation to Mr. Daniel Obst. Sir.
Of course, I'm going to start with, I was outside online and with some of you and just getting inspired. All that positive energy you were bringing, interacting with each other, knowing why you were here. And now I walked up to the panel and I looked out and you guys don't see yourselves and how powerful you are and how much energy is in this room. So I'm gonna start with that. Making me rethink about the homework I now have and how do I better connect our young adults, our young people as global citizens. My name is Daryl Rattray. I am the Deputy Commissioner of Strategic Partnerships at the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development. On behalf of our Mayor Eric Adams, and our Commissioner Keith Howard, I want to welcome all of you to our great city, New York City, and say Happy International Youth Day.
It is a pleasure and an honor to be here amongst all of you from so many different parts of the world. You have shown great leadership, passion, commitment, and alignment with making positive change in your spaces and the world around you. We congratulate you for that commitment and for your journey that got you here. And all of the work that we do across New York City, our programs and services for our children and young adults are all designed to provide safe environments that support academic achievement, enhance social skills, and cultivate youth leadership and civic engagement. As the government agency funding nonprofits across the city to provide these services, we are sure to give our funded partners the resources to connect to neighborhoods and provide opportunities that matter. I am proud to let you know about one of these examples that connects back to the Sustainable Development Goals. Through the mayor's vision and commitment, this summer we have 100,000 young adults ages 14 to 24 working in our Summer Youth Employment Program. These young adults are placed with employers across all sectors, including healthcare, finance, tech, green jobs, government, nonprofit, and many others. They are receiving expanded financial literacy curriculum, career readiness workshops, mindfulness, pre-employment, and life skills trainings. We are also sure to prioritize opportunities for our most vulnerable and underserved young adults. For instance, this year we started a program called SYEP Pride, which offers LGBTQ+ youth additional programming to enhance their career exploration and professional learning while connecting them to diverse work sites that offer them opportunities to be supported by LGBTQ+ employees and allies. Across the entire SYEP system, all 100,000 of our young adults are receiving a real work experience that will be part of their foundation. And of course, they receive a check. As our young people grow and develop and build their self-efficacy, it's important for them to connect with their neighborhoods. We often let them know that your network is larger than the street you live on or the borough you live in. Your network should span across the city. It should be nationwide. It should be global. New York City is the most diverse city in the world, and there's so much that can be learned from your neighbors. As a solution to help cultivate our city's diversity and connect New Yorkers, Mayor Adams created the Breaking Bread, Building Bonds initiative. It allows New Yorkers to come together to learn about their common bonds, share cultures and traditions, and break down silos between communities. The program unites New Yorkers, regardless of their background, to build understanding and aid in ending bias, hate, and discrimination simply through meals and conversations. This is when true change happens, when you see yourself as part of the entire world around you, and you recognize your role in being a contributor and connector to positive change. We have so many examples across New York City of our young adults stepping up to make positive changes, whether they are trying to prevent gun violence or working to ensure their communities have healthy food options. We find our young adults activating with selfless causes to help those around them and make their communities better. We celebrate them. Over the next few days in our great city, you all are going to be participating in workshops, trainings, and opportunities that will help you define and refine your personal brand. Your personal brand is how you show up, your reputation, your values, and how you want others to receive you personally and professionally. Included in your brand must be goals that promote doing everything you can to support those most in need. Whether you are doing something positive on your street, for your city, or for your country, never forget that we are all connected and that you are a global citizen. Our responsibilities are not easy, but together we can and will make a difference. While you are in New York City, please be sure to grab a slice of pizza and don't use a fork and a knife. Thank you for your time. Should I read the whereas in? Okay. I'm just one paragraph. It is now my honor to present this proclamation from Mayor Eric Adams. I'm going to read one of the whereas clauses, and I'll hold it up because it's actually cool when I hold it up. The last whereas clause states, Together we gather for AFS Youth Assembly's 28th session, a 3-day Congress rich with networking and learning opportunities. Its keynote speakers and panels expose tomorrow's pioneers to today's leaders as they discuss current solutions. Youth leaders can choose from a variety of themed program tracks, including international affairs, climate entrepreneurship, and more. When we provide our youth with the opportunities to ignite their imaginations and revolutionize our world for the better, we know they work hard and seize them, and this session will further demonstrate that truth. On this occasion, I am proud to commend AFS Youth Assembly and all those involved for their commitment to equity, justice, and peace. Now, therefore, I, Eric Adams, Mayor of the City of New York, do hereby proclaim Friday, August 11th, 2023 in the City of New York as AFS Youth Assembly Day.
Well, that was really, really exciting. You can have a seat. Yeah. Okay. You don't like me that much? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Rattray, for joining us for this celebration. A big round of applause. Now, I am really excited to announce the finalists for the AFS Award for Young Global Citizens, who will compete to win $15,000 to fund their social ventures tomorrow at the AFS Youth Assembly. I will ask you to hold your applause until I call out all the finalists' names, and they will also rise when I call them out, just for the sake of time. So first, I'd like to call Olampiso Ikumu. Her project, hold your applause, hold your applause. Her project provides technical education in software engineering and product design to young Nigerian women. Next, I'd like to call upon Khalid Abdul Wahid, along with his Moham team, who provides Syrian refugees and IDPs with safe long-term housing. Okay. I can't stop them everyone's just too excited. Okay, we're gonna go to the third finalist, Ilan Enverga, who has created effective education for sustainable development for schools in the Philippines. And then we have Rachel Seventoff, who aims to tackle energy poverty by increasing access to solar power in the Cameroon. And our fifth finalist, Ghislaine Iracuz, for her project, which diverts e-waste from going into landfills, supporting low-income households with refurbished devices in Rwanda. And lastly, our sixth finalist, Momin Sub, for his project with the goal to create a greener and more sustainable alternative to textiles in Egypt. Thank you all so, so much. These amazing youth are tackling SDGs from across the spectrum. We thank you for making a true difference in the world through your meaningful work, and best of luck tomorrow. Now you can clap. While we are racing against time, we have gathered today to recognize the achievements of youth. There is much to do to pave forward our way to a sustainable world, a future for all of us and our future generations. Today marks the start of an inspiring journey which will present numerous opportunities to learn, connect, and take action for impact, kicking off the 28th AFS Youth Assembly starting tomorrow at the Convene Center. We hope to see many of you there, and I want to thank everyone who has joined us today, distinguished speakers, and all of you who have been an amazing, amazing audience. Thank you for joining us here tonight, and happy International Youth Day.